For me, I find the statistics that only 6% of South Africans can retire financially secure very alarming. And I dare argue that 6% of Basotho can retire financially secure. Now, the responsibility to retire with sufficient capital lies with you, the individual, not the government, not your employer, not your family members, but you. So how can we improve our retirement outcomes and make sure that one day when we reach our golden years, we have enough money to take care of our living and standard of living? In today's episode, I have a very special guest and a dear friend of mine and colleague in the industry, and we're going to talk everything retirement planning, but specifically retirement in the era of the two-pot retirement system. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode on My Money Adventures podcast. If you're new to this podcast, my name is Tukiso TK Ntebe, also known as the Finance Bachelor. On this podcast, we talk everything finance, well-being, and wealth creation. And of course, if you follow my content, you'll know how passionate I am about retirement planning. This episode is also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms. But without getting too much into it, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this beautiful trailblazer. Hello, good morning, how are you?
Good morning, TK, how are you?
I'm great, thanks, how are you? The last time I saw you was in Rustenburg, Sun City for the retirement conference.
Oh, yes. What an amazing conference it was. Yeah.
You were just in your zone, networking and all of that.
Networking with peers, yeah. It was a really lovely conference at Basuta. Yeah.
Okay, great. So, for people who don't know who you are, maybe let's start there. Who are you? Tell the trailblazers who you are and what you're about.
Okay, so my name is Babalompana Selo, born and bred in Lesotho. Studied here for primary education, then moved to South Africa. So I've been in South Africa since 2006. I'm what you call a financial advisor in today's world. However, I work in financial corporates. So I work with institutions like your big employers and corporates. What I do, in essence, for a living is I ensure that you as an individual, one, can afford to retire one day, to take care of yourself, and also leave a legacy for your family. How I got into financial planning, I'd say I was destined for it, if I may put it that way.
I've never heard
So
That's interesting.
I think it was my destiny. I tried to run away from it, and I'll give you a little story. So when I finished in high school, I had this dream that I want to go into the medical profession. So I went to Stellenbosch University. I did my Bachelor of Science in Human Physiology. And, through that course, it didn't really pan out how I wanted it to pan out. And I had to sit down and rethink and think, what is next for me? What is it that I'm actually passionate about? And if I look at my upbringing, right, I grew up with a father that was an internal auditor. I grew up with a mother that was an accountant.
Sure.
So finances were always a topic in the house. We were a family that would sit down, talk about budgeting from a young age. So I understood the value of money, learning how to, to save for your money. So I'm very thrifty, I'd say, as an individual. But long story short, when the medical thingies didn't pan out, I then thought, what was next? So I decided to go to the University of the Free State, and I did a Bachelor of Law specializing in financial planning law. So in that course, that's when I actually figured out, okay, I'm doing what I love. There's finance here, there's the law aspect there. So it really fell on my lap. But once I landed at that course or in that course, I actually figured this is what I was destined to do, educate people on their finances, be that guidance, that coach that actually, speaks to people and their outcomes at retirement.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So as is tradition on My Money Adventures podcast, right? The question I'm going to ask you next is, what's your relationship with money? Especially with the background that your dad is an internal auditor, your mom is an accountant, and in the household, money conversations about budgeting and so many other finance topics was the everyday conversation. What's your relationship with money? How would you describe your relationship with money?
My relationship with money, I'd say, like I've mentioned already, I'm someone that's quite thrifty, with money. I don't think you can ever have enough with money. I think the question is always, what is enough, right? So with the little that you are able to accumulate, I'm the kind of person who's always looking to save for rainy days, have an emergency fund, have this, have that, saved away if something happens. So I'd say I have a really healthy relationship with money, but at the same time, I'm one person that knows that you need to have ways of generating additional income. Do not depend on, one source of income. I did mention that, I grew up with a dad that was an internal auditor, but he left that corporate world to go into business.
Sure.
So, I've learned from a young age to pursue multiple streams of income in order for you to sustain yourself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So as a financial advisor, do you ever feel the pressure from people that because you're a financial advisor, you're working within this industry, that you need to have your finances in check?
100%.
As healthy as your relationship with money is.
100%. I mean, you need to walk what you preach, I don't think that's
Preach
right
what
to
you-
preach. Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, that one right there. So the expectation is always for you to be on par with your finances. You can't be telling people you need to save this much, you need to be investing, you need to be saving up for whatever the goal might be, and you're not doing it yourself. So there is huge pressure as a person who's in the financial services to live up to those standards. Also from a regulatory point of view, I'm someone that loves regulations coming from a legal background. From a regulatory point of view, being in the financial services industry, there's always that expectation, you can't be blacklisted in the industry. You need to always ensure that, in order for you to operate in that industry, you meet those requirements. So you have to be on point with your finances. You need to be fit and proper. You need to be fit and proper.
Okay, so a lot of trailblazers always ask me, what's the difference between a financial planner, a financial advisor, a financial therapist, a financial coach? You mentioned that you are a financial advisor. So what makes you so confident to say I label or identify myself as a financial advisor? What's the difference between a planner and an advisor?
Okay. So the term is loosely used. People can refer to you as a financial advisor, financial planner. So for people that are not in the industry, it's not actually easy to distinguish between an advisor and a planner.
Sure.
For me, an advisor is anyone that can give you advice on how to handle your finances, how to handle your money matters. And that individual necessarily does not have to be someone that's selling you a product, It can be someone like an investment advisor that is making the decision in terms of how your money is invested,
Sure.
That is the role of an advisor. The role of a planner, I think of it as a more comprehensive role in that the planner does not just look at one aspect of your life. So a planner will look at you, let's say, from an estate planning point of view to say, TK, do you have your will in place? Do you have enough money to pay your executive fees and so forth if, you drop dead today? They will also look at you from retirement point of view. If you make it to retirement, do you have enough saved up for retirement? If you were to get a disability one day, do you have sufficient income or protection, your disability protection covers to cover you in those instances? So a planner for me is more comprehensive in that they look at your life cycle as a whole, not only from an investment point of view. And an advisor, I would say, with advisors, we actually specialize more in your investments, your asset allocations, and so forth. Yeah.
Wow, very, very comprehensive. I mean, you've actually explained it far more better than I would ordinarily do. So big ups to that.
Thank you.
So from holistic financial planning to retirement, which is why we are here. When I started the conversation, I started with a very alarming statistic. 6% of South Africans can retire financially secure. And it really keeps me up at night as a financial advisor. I'm like, how do we get more people to to think and plan for the future. And in my line of work as well is a lot of my clients are usually 55 and older, approaching retirement. So they're looking for solutions on how to make better decisions. And I always look at their stories and experiences, and I look at the younger generation starting their careers. I'm like, how do we get them to avoid making the same mistakes that these older people have made so that they have better retirement outcomes? So what's the question? Talk us through the importance of retirement planning. I think let's paint a picture of retirement planning as a pillar within the financial planning, and why it's important, especially for people our age and younger.
Yeah. I think retirement planning should actually be a course that's offered from as early as high school, you know, when you're in high school, when you're doing your life orientation. Honestly, because, you know, one day when you're obviously done with all your education, your varsity and all of that, you go into your workforce. And when you enter the workforce, no one really gives you all the tools that you need to know. You know, simple tools like you need to be saving for retirement, you need to be submitting your annual tax returns. You know, it's simple things that should be freely and easily accessible to people, but they aren't. So with retirement planning, I always say the earlier you start, the better. And the reason I say this is, if you take a typical, you know, individual, you probably go into the workforce at what, age 25? 24, 25. And your retirement age is probably about age 65. So that gives you an investment horizon of about 30 years where you are in the workforce, you're earning an income. But we don't think about the future to say, what happens at 65? When one day I'm about to retire now and I need to be able to sustain my lifestyle. I need to be able to pay either my medical aid, my living expenses, you know, the day-to-day necessities, do groceries and so forth. So I find that with our generation, we live for the now.
YOLO.
Yeah, YOLO, literally YOLO. And you don't think about what is going to happen to me in the future. And I think generally it's also because of black tax, where we found that in the past, you know, your grandparents would age and they would depend on your parents now to take care of them. But times are changing, things are moving around. So I think we need to be more responsible when it comes to retirement. As a young individual that's starting out in the industry, you need to be saving for retirement from day one when you start.
And what I love about that is a lot of young people think that when you are talking retirement planning, we say don't buy the car, don't enjoy life, don't travel and do that. But like you mentioned, the earlier you start, the less, I mean, if you're contributing enough, you've got time on your side. So I mean, when you start your first job, before you even think about buying the car, make sure that your retirement planning is in order, and then you can use the rest of your income to YOLO-rize your life. So you've been in the industry in South Africa, the financial services industry in South Africa for a very long time. I mean, you know, through your experience and through the different employers that you've worked with, I'm sure you've kind of picked up patterns and common mistakes that people make, especially when it comes to the retirement. What are some of those mistakes that you've seen people make throughout the years being in the industry?
The number one mistake would be not saving for retirement. That's a mistake that people are making. You know, to current date, we have people that don't have anything, like nothing whatsoever saved up for retirement. The second mistake that people are making, which is very concerning, is the fact that, let's say you get employed, right? You are lucky enough to have an employer that actually has a pension and provident fund that you're contributing towards. When people chop and change and leave jobs, they are actually cashing out their retirement fund money to go on holidays and, you know, do whatever, upgrade their lifestyles. That's a number one mistake that people are actually making. I think Asisa did a study in 2020 where they actually said 2/3 of people that are actually leaving their jobs actually cash out everything that they've got for retirement. So that's another mistake that people are doing. Third mistake I'd say that people are doing is they are not investing in the right vehicles, for retirement. So you would find that there are people that are saving in their personal capacity. Maybe you have a savings account and you think that is sufficient, But we need to think about the returns that you're getting from your savings account versus if you were in a high equity portfolio. So yeah, I'd say the third mistake is not investing in the right vehicles. Yeah.
So I know you've currently moved jobs. So the first question I'm going to ask is, when you moved to 10X Investments, did you preserve? Did you preserve or did you not preserve?
That's an interesting one, TK. You're putting me on the spot here.
I have to put you on the spot.
So, my relationship with 10X has always been a special one. So I left 10X, went to a different, company. And when I left 10X, I actually preserved. So my money was still parked, left at 10X, went to a new employer. So when I left this new employer, I was actually going back now to 10X. And I'm happy to announce that I have preserved. I did preserve.
Oh, well done. So, what fascinates me about the South African retirement industry is all the reforms. And, you can literally tell that it's a country that is trying to, one, promote a culture of saving, a country that is trying to promote and encourage more people to preserve and improve their retirement outcomes. So the National Treasury, South African National Treasury, for example, introduced the big elephant and a very topical issue in South Africa. I've seen memes, I've seen everything on social media where every South African is thinking about the two-part retirement system. For people and trailblazers watching this episode, what is the two-part retirement system?
Shoo, yeah. I must say the two-part retirement system, like you're saying, has been very topical. But I think before we actually delve into what the two-part retirement system is, we need to understand the landscape that we are operating in, from a South African point of view or concept. So I think first and foremost, we had a huge problem in the country, like you're saying, where 6% of people are actually able to retire. That leaves the majority, 94% of people that are not able to retire comfortably. And with that 94% of people, they would then turn to the state, for government old age grants. And you can imagine it cost quite a huge burden on the state. So on the back of that, the government has been working for quite a number of years to actually reform and change the industry to ensure that, one, people are preserving, and two, they can afford to at least have something at retirement. So before two-part came into play, there was a huge change that came into play in 1 March of 2021, T-Day.
Sure.
What T-Day did is it basically harmonized what you call your pension and provident funds.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. So previously, if you were in a pension fund at retirement, you would then get 1/3 of your savings. The 2/3 you would need to go reinvest, and purchase an annuity. Yeah. And with provident funds, when you got to retirement, 100% of your money you would get, and you then had the decision making to do whatever it is that you wanted to do with your money. And that actually resulted in provident fund members exhausting that capital within a year or two, and then going back to the government. That was the biggest change that came into play. So when two-part now actually was proposed, it was done to address the lack of preservation, that we're currently dealing with provident fund members.
Sure.
It was also done to give people access to their money without resigning. That was another huge problem that we're facing. Yeah. You would find people would resign to gain access to the retirement fund monies due to emergencies or whatever the case might have been at the time. So that is where the two-part retirement system came into play. But to get into your question, the two-part retirement system is there to force members to preserve. So 70% of members' contributions will be going into a retirement pot from the 1st of September. And this retirement pot, you need to preserve until you get to retirement.
So I can't access it?
You can't access that retirement pot until you get to retirement. 30% of your savings, which is a third of your of your contributions from the 1st of September, will then be going into the savings pot. And it is in the savings pot that you will actually be allowed access for you to then address whatever emergencies that may arise. But there's always terms and conditions to everything. I don't know if we will actually get into the terms and conditions of the withdrawals, but yeah, the system, that's essentially how it operates. From 1st of September, all contributions, 1/3 will go into a savings pot, 2/3 will go into a retirement pot.
So I love the context and landscape you've provided. So a lot of South Africans are thinking that the 1st of September is bonus day. They're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to cash out, I'm paying off my bond, I'm buying a new car. These so-called emergencies, right? So when we speak about the terms and conditions, what are some of the terms and conditions? Can I easily just access my savings pot? Or what are the implications if I do decide to cash out from the savings pot?
The savings pot, okay. So I think if we take it back a little bit, like you mentioned, we call it the 2-pot retirement system, but there's actually 3 pots involved. So we've discussed the other 2 pots that will effectively come into play from the 1st of September. But before that, we actually have what we call a vested pot. So your vested pot essentially would be all the contributions that you've made to your pension or provident fund up until the 31st of August 2024, before this new legislation comes into play. So what will happen essentially is, on the 1st of September, right, your savings pot won't start with a balance of 0. What will be done is we will calculate what we call a once-off seeding capital. Your seeding capital will be 10% of whatever you've got saved up in your vested pot. However, to a maximum of 30,000. And that will then be placed in your savings pot to be readily available for you should you then wish to withdraw.
So if I understand you correctly, let's suppose my vested pot contributions till the 31st of August 2024, I've got 400,000, right? So come the 1st of September 2024, 10% or a maximum of 30,000 will be put into a seeding capital into the savings pot. So what will happen on the 1st of September is 30,000 will be transferred from my vested pot into the savings pot to kickstart that.
100%.
So I can withdraw the 30,000 almost immediately.
Yes.
But there's always a catch.
So, we'd say almost immediately, but, like I mentioned, there's T's and C's.
T's and C's.
Yeah. So I think very, very important to the example that you gave. If you calculate 10% of your 400,000, that would be 40,000.
Sure.
So people might be expecting to have 40,000 in their savings pot, but we always have to remember that max cap,
is 30,000,
which is 30,000, which will be there.
Sure.
Yeah. So if we come to withdrawals, right, the T's and C's are as follows. And these are the T's and C's that people don't actually want to hear about or necessarily are not aware of. So the first one would be you are only allowed one withdrawal within a tax year. And our tax year runs from the 1st of March of every year to the 28th of February of the following year. So it's one withdrawal within a tax year. Secondly, in order for you to be able to withdraw, you need to ensure that you have a minimum of at least 2,000 rands that is sitting in your savings pot. Yeah. And that is just done to circumvent people that would want to withdraw 500,
Sure.
You can imagine the administrative burden that is going to cause if you want to withdraw that little. So we need to put those minimums in there to say you need to at least be able to have 2,000 in order for you to withdraw. Thirdly, your withdrawal is not tax-free, unfortunately. So every withdrawal will be taxed at your marginal tax rate, right? And with different administrators, they will actually apply an administration fee towards your withdrawal. So you're looking at taxes and you're also looking at administration fees. Also very important to note is that should a member have any outstanding tax liabilities, it is possible that your withdrawal might actually come back with a negative balance. So you might actually not get anything out, you know, depending on what your tax liability is at SARS.
So if you have not been paying your taxes with SARS-ish. And I think the fifth one that we don't even speak about is eventually when you do go to retirement one day, right? You are forced to buy 2/3 of your benefits are supposed to buy a pension annuity or provident, and let me just call it an annuity. But there's also a lump sum aspect of it. So if you keep on withdrawing from your savings pot, you are therefore reducing the lump sum that you would otherwise get at retirement, which now also affects the retirement outcomes. You know?
100%.
So what would you then say to people who are thinking of cashing out if they don't need to cash out? Because I know that people who don't need to cash out because they don't necessarily have an emergency.
So to answer that question, TK, my advice would be for people not to cash out, because to your point, right, how this new system will essentially work is in your savings pot, you are allowed to actually withdraw once every tax year, right? But 100% of everything that is sitting in your retirement pot, you need to go and reinvest that, you know, to buy yourself an annuity one day at retirement. So if you are a member that is constantly at every single tax year actually withdrawing from your savings pot, it means that one day when you get to retirement, you might not have any cash that is available for you to get into your pocket, you know, and do whatever it is that you need to do, because 100% of your savings would then be reinvested in order to buy that annuity.
I think in the context of the conversation that we're having, maybe tell us a bit more what you do in your current role to help members retire at least financially secure at 10X.
Okay.
And what 10X is. I don't think a lot of people know what 10X is.
So, 10X is an investment company. So our name is actually 10X Investments, right? We offer different investment solutions or products across a wide range of products. So I work specifically on the corporate side. So from the corporate side of things, we offer your pension funds, your provident funds. So day to day in my life, I am what you call a client relationship manager now with 10X. And essentially, I work with your corporates, your employers, to structure or provide you with a pension fund, provident fund dispensation. So my day-to-day would be going out to employers, setting up those pension provident funds, setting up special rules that would apply there to say, okay, employees are contributing this much, employers are contributing this much. Another big element that I enjoy about my job is the member engagement side of things, because that is where we actually get to go out to the members and communicate with them and give them advice in terms of, are you contributing enough? What else can you be doing? You know, additional voluntary contributions that you could be making towards your pension provident fund. A third part of it would then be being involved in I'd say the investment side of things, the asset management side of things, where we would then go back and report to what we call your management committees and give them feedback in terms of how the investment performances have been going, you know, or how they've been performing.
Okay, wow. Okay, I want to do a quick 2-minute break, or not 2-minute break, a quick break, just to get back to this amazing conversation just before we close. So if you've been wondering, this conversation is proudly brought to you by TK TKO Financial Wellness and Advisory. If you don't know what that is, this is a plug of a video. We provide everything financial well-being, corporate wellness, and all that jazz. So here's a quick video just to take you through what TKO Consultancy and TKO Financial Wellness does.
We will help you navigate the complexities of managing finances. Imagine tailored financial solutions and transformative educational programs designed to eradicate financial uncertainty. We aren't just consultants, we are dedicated partners accompanying you on your journey to financial freedom. TKO Financial Wellness, where your success is our decisive victory.
All right, so Fabalo, you've shared so much about the retirement space, particularly in South Africa, right? And what I love about what you do is I can literally tell that you're very passionate about it, right? So there's a lot of trailblazers, again, who are panicking about the 1st of September. What do we say to them?
I think the most important message that we can put across is there is no need for panic. You know, we've seen in the media where it's gone from excitement, and then with more information coming out, then it's gone from doom and gloom. Like it's excitement, then people are starting to panic. So do not panic. And the reason why I say do not panic is your vested pot is still protected according to the current retirement fund rules. So I think a lot of panic is actually caused by members that think, you know, if I do decide to resign one day, does that mean I'm coming out with nothing until I get to retirement age 55? And the answer is no. So should you decide to resign one day, your vested pot is still protected. So your vested pot would be your contributions up until the 31st of August 2024. If you do decide to resign and you want to gain access to your vested pot, by all means, you can still gain access to your retirement pot. But like I said, we highly discourage that. We do not advise for members to be chopping and changing jobs and taking from that vested pot. But should you need to, it's still readily available for you to do that.
Okay.
Secondly, what the two-pot retirement system does is you would still essentially be able to gain access to your savings pot. So it is not compulsory for you as a member to gain access into that pot every tax year. You leave that money invested. If one day there is an actual emergency or something that is really important that you need to get done, then by all means, you can then go into that savings pot and withdraw whatever it is that you need to withdraw from it. Yeah.
So I think for a lot of trailblazers, the key is let's maybe unpack what emergencies are, because emergencies mean different things to different people. And in the same light, I do support what you said, that if you don't need to withdraw from your savings pot, you don't have to. Let it be. Come 1st of September, business as usual. Don't pay attention to it. Just continue like you would ordinarily, you know. But for some people, they'll be like, I have an emergency. And the emergency will be like going to Sun City for a vacation. That is not an emergency.
That
right?
is definitely not an emergency.
So I want to, just before we wrap up this conversation, I want to bring it a bit closer to you, for a young girl who is, or boy, who's watching this episode and thinking, I want to have a career within the financial services industry. What advice do you have for them, or words of encouragement?
Sure. So, you know, for a young man or woman that is looking to go into the financial services industry, my advice to you would be prepared for the hard work. The financial services industry is an industry that still has a long way to go in terms of transformation. Without getting very deep into it, but be prepared to work hard. Be prepared to lead by example, because people will only follow or listen to someone that they believe in.
Sure.
Yeah. So as much as you can advise and tell people what to do with their money, people want to see that you are actually thriving in your life, living the talk, so they can be inspired by you, and sort of follow whatever formula that you've gotten or that you've implemented. But in essence, it is an industry that anyone can get into. It's not,
we're not gatekeeping.
We're not gatekeeping it, essentially. Anyone can go into the financial services industry. You just need to work hard. What I also love about our industry is that, over the last couple of years, we've actually worked really hard to regulate it, to ensure that the people that are sitting in front of you, the people that are actually giving advice, that they're competent. We spoke about fit and proper.
Sure.
We've got regulatory bodies now that will say, in order for you to work in this industry, you need to have what we call an RE5. You need to go through those exams to ensure that you're competent. We've got bodies such as the Financial Planning Institution that give you certifications such as your CFPs to say this person is a certified financial planner. So we've worked really hard. We've come a long way. So it is open to anyone. Just be willing to put in the work. It is a lot of hard work, but it is attainable, it's achievable, anyone can do it.
And a lot of ethics.
A lot of ethics
and confidentiality.
Yeah.
Right. So as you were, just before we wrap up, there's something that when you're speaking about the harmonization of in 2021 between the Provident Fund and the pension funds, what I'm excited to see in Lesotho is that harmonization when we go through the reforms. So currently in Lesotho, you have a pension fund, you have a Provident Fund, but with a Provident Fund, you can still access the 100% benefit. And what we are seeing in the industry is people cashing out when they do retire, and within a period of 6 months or between 6 and 12 months, the money is gone. So as an industry, Lesotho, we still have a lot of work to do. So I'm excited to see how that unfolds. But thank you very much for coming through, and thank you so much for sharing. Any closing remarks, any last words you want to leave us with? Words of wisdom, tips, nuggets, or anything to that effect? And also, where do people connect with you if they want to engage with you?
Okay. Thank you so much. I think first and foremost, I need to thank you for the opportunity to be here.
We planned this in Sun City, by the way.
In Sun City. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be here, and talk to your audience. I think I love what you do. I'm inspired by the work that you're actually doing, because it's very important to ensure that financial education is out there. People have the right tools to empower themselves and change those horrifying outcomes that we've spoken about the 6%. So my last parting remarks would be, it's never too late to make a difference, to change your financial outcomes. There's always things you can do. There's competent people like yourself, like me, that are there to actually assist you and guide you on this path, of financial freedom. Because I think that's ultimately what we're working towards: financial freedom, legacy planning, succession planning for your children, for your children, the next generation. So it's never too late to start. You can make a difference today. You would be surprised how 100 Rand can make a difference in your retirement outcomes one day when you get to retirement. So it's never too late. Keep contributing to your retirement funds. If you've got a little extra to contribute, keep making those additional voluntary contributions.
Amen. Drops the mic. Guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. Oh my God, I feel like, Babalo, you've literally just gave me the hope and inspiration I needed, and the reminder to say keep on going, because it can become very exhausting within the industry. So I'm very, very excited to do that. Guys, a quick disclaimer that we forgot to make: if you're watching this episode, this does not constitute as financial advice. If you are looking for financial advice, speak to a registered, licensed financial advisor by the FSCA if you are in South Africa, or in Lesotho by the Central Bank of Lesotho. She's a financial advisor. I'm a financial advisor. Come speak to us for tailored and customized are the same thing. tailored financial advice. So do speak to us. Don't forget to leave a comment below. What are your thoughts about the 2-part retirement system that actually has 3 parts? Number 2 is leave a comment below and let us know what you think about this episode. What's your relationship with money? What's your relationship with your retirement planning, and so on and so forth? Don't forget to share this video, this episode, with family and friends who are worried about the 2-part retirement system, and let them join the Trailblazer community by hitting and smashing the subscribe button. Do follow us also on our social media platforms, like I mentioned earlier on, and of course subscribe to our newsletter. I'll plug it in the link below. Check out TKO Financial Wellness and Advisory, but also follow our financial education platform, www.mymoneyadventures.com. Give this video a thumbs up so that the YouTube algorithm sees us and recognizes. And of course, to them speaking to the South African community, share this video so that it goes viral in the SA market. And if you are in Lesotho, retirement is also as equally important as for you. So shout out to all the Trailblazers who are subscribed to the video. Until the next video, love, peace, and happiness. But before I wrap it up, I always want to give up a big shout out to my creative team, because the creative team and the creative industry in Lesotho is booming. So shout out to Titan Lens behind the lens, and of course Biza Streets for always plugging the audio version of it, and of course to Marcus Skill Innovations for the amazing thumbnails. So until the next video, love, peace, and money. Cheers guys, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.
Bye.
That was great.
Yeah.